9. Farron Sally. One day in late 2018, a news anchor woman named Farron Sally was arrested for drunk driving in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. During her conversation with police, the 28-year-old African-American woman allegedly taunted white officers with racial remarks while accusing them of being racist. She also bragged about having a master's degree and admitted to having one cocktail but said she wasn't drunk. When the officers administered a field sobriety test, Sally shouted at her fiancé, "Watch out, they may shoot you even though you're not black." Police believe they had more than enough evidence to arrest her since her speech was slurred and she failed to cooperate with instructions for the breathalyzer she agreed to. After staying in custody for a few hours, she was let go. Sally was out of work for 2 months while dealing with the case. Prosecutors determined they didn't have enough evidence to convict her of a DUI and later dropped the charges altogether. She returned to work shortly after and issued a written statement apologizing for her crude behavior but maintaining her innocence. The anchorwoman thanked the men and women working hard to protect us on the road, and she regretted not showing the officers the respect they deserved. 8. ROSSIE Dennis. Late last year, some viral cell phone footage showed a woman pointing a handgun towards a young mother through the window of her car, while her 6-month baby was helpless in the back seat. The terrifying encounter happened outside a Corpus Christi, Texas grocery store during an argument over a parking spot. Police identified the suspect as 60-year-old ROSSIE Dennis and charged her with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Just a few weeks later, the alleged victim, Diane Reyes, filed a lawsuit against Dennis seeking anywhere from $250,000 to $1 million in damages for costs related to the assault and the emotional distress it caused her. Reyes contended she saw Dennis's SUV parked in a lane of traffic in the parking lot without any turn signal on, so she went around the vehicle and pulled into an empty spot. At that point, Dennis approached Reyes' vehicle, banging her hands against the window and started yelling. To try and de-escalate the confrontation, Reyes said she ignored Dennis, who then grabbed a handgun, pointed it at the new mom, and demanded she exit her vehicle. Not knowing what else to do, Reyes called 911 and reported the incident to the police, while Dennis got back into the car and fled the scene. According to the last update on the case, Dennis had not yet responded to the lawsuit, and it's unclear where the case against her currently stands. 7. Puppy hurling Karen. An irresponsible and racist dog owner took her frustrations out on a black man in October 2020 by hurling her puppy at him. Viral footage of the downright bizarre tantrum shows the woman harassing the man in the middle of a California intersection with a young Belgian Malinois in her arms. She can be heard telling the man that he's black, to which he responds fittingly, "So what?" In the video, the aggressor continued making racial-related statements as she charged toward the man. At one point, it even looked like she kicked him in the shin. The man then asked the woman if the visibly distressed dog she was holding was hers, at which point she threw the defenseless animal at him. Fed up with the woman's behavior, he comforted the puppy and yelled at her to go away. Before following his command, the woman claimed she had a mental health record and tried to accuse him of stealing her dog. But he was in no mood to listen to her excuses, and he kept the puppy, whom he later renamed Movie. Earlier this year, the dog's loving new guardian posted an update on TikTok showing the happy and healthy pup, who he says is doing better than ever. The news came as a heartwarming conclusion to an encounter that can only be described as both strange and completely unwarranted. 6. Security squabble. Security guards are usually hired to keep the public safe at large events, and that's what they should have been doing this year at the prestigious Wimbledon tennis tournament in London. But 3 guards who were employed by the security company contracted for the tournament strayed from their duties and instead got into a fight with each other on the event grounds. The brawl happened right in front of fans who come to see the tennis matches and was later broken up by Metropolitan police officers who took the guards into custody on charges related to the event. Luckily, nobody was reported injured, and the 3 suspects were released on bail until their next court date, which is coming up at the end of this month. Speaking with The Guardian, a company insider described the fight as embarrassing and said it was not a good look for it to have happened in front of Wimbledon attendees. He accused the trio of damaging the company's reputation and said, "I can't believe they did that." Wimbledon representatives declined to comment on the situation. 5. Travis Wallace Lester. The Texas news outlet Valley Central recently reported a former charter school principal from Edinburgh named Travis Wallace Lester was charged with multiple counts of harassment last year. A criminal complaint claims he and the alleged victim, who was a co-worker at the time, initially had a consensual correspondence and exchanged intimate photographs. But when the victim tried to end the relationship, Lester supposedly got verbally aggressive toward her and repeatedly contacted her despite her asking to be left alone. She also accused him of creating a hostile work environment and filed a report against him, which makes sense since he's in a higher position of power. An investigation ultimately led to him getting fired. But Lester apparently didn't stop after getting his position taken away. Early this year, police were dispatched to the victim's home to take a complaint about some threatening emails she received from accounts she believed belonged to him. One of the messengers claimed Lester had taken his own life in his backyard. Just a few days later, police responded to the school that Lester and his victim worked at concerning a package the suspect allegedly sent to the woman. Records revealed the package sparked immediate concern over student safety, and the local bomb squad and FBI came to the scene. While no explosives were found, the package did contain traces of methamphetamine and a locket. The harassing behavior continued 2 days later, when the woman received money on Cash App at the same time she saw a vehicle resembling the suspect's car passing her home. She also got another message claiming Lester had taken his life when he found out she'd filed harassment charges against him. When this failed to get a response from the woman, someone believed to be Lester contacted her and threatened to release intimate photos of her to her workplace. According to the last update, he was taken into custody in June on multiple charges, including harassment and unlawful disclosure of intimate material. Lester was released on bail pending his next court date. If convicted, he could face both jail time and a 5-figure fine, which he would deserve for making the victim's life a living hell. 4. Olivia Johnson. A 19-year-old girl named Olivia Johnson was driving in the English town of Warsaw recently when a passing motorist blinked their lights to remind her to turn her headlights on. The weather was bad, according to the 66-year-old grandfather, who sent Johnson the warning in a kind-hearted attempt to help Olivia. There was a torrential downpour happening and it was getting dark. Instead of following the man's gentle reminder, Johnson went to the police a few hours later and claimed he'd gestured for her to pull over and ordered her to get out of her car. She also said the senior citizen had impersonated a cop and accused her of driving a stolen vehicle. Johnson's wildly spun tale landed the man in police custody for 23 hours and sparked a 4-day investigation as detectives tried to get to the bottom of the odd situation. They ultimately determined the young woman had made up the entire story, and the elderly gentleman had not said a single sour word to her. All he did was flash his headlights. He was left traumatized by the misunderstanding, which also affected his wife and children. He'll probably never try to help a stranger again. At that point, Johnson found herself on the receiving end of criminal allegations. During her trial, the prosecutor read her entire complaint against the man in detail, including the part where she claimed she asked to see his police badge and he said he didn't have one. None of it ever happened. Every detail was fabricated. Johnson's defense lawyer partially blamed her mental health for what the prosecution depicted as an inexcusable criminal act. She pleaded guilty to perverting the course of justice and received an 8-month sentence at a young offenders facility. Hopefully, she'll realize the weight of her crime. 3. Wayne Rooney. The renowned British soccer coach Wayne Rooney recently arrived in the United States for his newest gig. His wife, 36-year-old Colleen, planned to stay in England with their 4 children. The last time she came to the US with Wayne, she apparently got incredibly homesick to the point of frequently crying herself to sleep. Sources have revealed there have been tensions in the marriage and that Colleen has requested for a relative to keep an eye on Wayne during his time spent abroad due to some trust issues. It's believed a security guard and her brother, Anthony McLaughlin, who's filled the role before, will likely be accompanying Wayne on the trip. And from the sounds of it, Colleen has good reason to want oversight on her husband, thanks to his past antics and his track record of acting wild while unsupervised. During a trip to Washington, D.C. in 2018, he was arrested for being drunk at the Dulles airport, so her concerns are understandable. Early on the following year, he supposedly went out drinking with a female bartender in Florida and was photographed inside a Hooters restaurant. Wayne's behavior got so bad, Colleen demanded he return to the UK. A friend of Wayne's told The Sun Wayne promised not to let his wife down this time, and that things are different now that he's a coach rather than just a player. The source further explained that while Colleen trusts her husband, she knows he has a tendency to be easily led astray. That seems like a nice way to put that she doesn't actually trust him, for good reason too. 2. Targeted teacher. Nola Formentin was an Australian who lived in the southeast African country of Malawi, where until recently she worked as a teacher at an international school. Her contract wasn't renewed though, thanks to suspicions that she and a colleague, Janet Phillips, leaked a memo to some of the students' parents. With this suspicion, the head of the school instructed 3 security guards to forcibly remove her from the facility. But they took it too far when they allegedly brutally assaulted Formentin while making her leave. One security guard caught her filming him while he told the other guards to manhandle her. He also ordered them to take the woman's phone, but police managed to obtain footage of the disturbing encounter later on. The video of the incident shows a staff member intervening and restraining the guards harming Formentin. Meanwhile, the terrified teacher can be seen crying and wondering what she did to deserve such rash treatment. Before returning to Australia, Formentin reported the incident in an attempt to clear both her and Phillips' names. A court cleared both the former teachers of any wrongdoing and found Formentin had only gone to the school on the day of the attack to say goodbye to her students, whom she'd bonded closely with during her time as their teacher. An internal investigation report obtained by the court revealed that neither Formentin or the other teachers were even named as suspects in the malicious circulation of the supposed memo that wasn't supposed to have reached parents' hands. The 3 security guards were arrested for their alleged role in the attack. They were released on bail and are due in court on a future date. School officials continue to blame Formentin for what happened and are claiming she showed up at the school to cause trouble and make as loud of an exit from her job as possible, not to say goodbye to her students. In a statement, they said the teacher had already been suspended for a few reasons but declined to go into further detail, citing an ongoing investigation. 1. Jon Jones. Earlier this year, the UFC wrestler Jon Jones allegedly got into a physical altercation with his fiancée and pulled her hair while at a Las Vegas hotel. Police were called to the scene and were met with complete outrage from the 34-year-old pro athlete, who erupted into a verbal tirade, repeatedly calling one officer an effing nerd. Viral footage of the cringe-worthy interaction shows Jones asking the officer over and over for his name while hurling out insults. He then accused the cops of embarrassing him on an important night out. He was apparently celebrating one of his epic wrestling victories and how he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Jones got so worked up that at one point he can be seen slamming his forehead into the hood of the police cruiser officers were trying to restrain him against. He was initially charged with misdemeanor domestic battery and felony tampering with the vehicle charges. Shortly after the arrest, the disgraced wrestler announced he was done drinking alcohol and made media posts depicting him and his fiancée as a now very happy couple. In an agreement with prosecutors, the domestic battery charge was dropped and Jones pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge of destroying property. A judge ordered him to stay out of trouble, pay restitution to the victim, and attend anger management classes to get his temper under control. Thanks for watching. Tell us in the comments below about an experience you've had with a person who belongs in a video like this. Remember to subscribe to the channel and we'll see you soon. Bye!